He is back for his weekly appearance during the regular season. Redskins historian Mike Richman with a perspective on the Redskins-Saints rivalry. And it's not an NFC East team, but there is a whole lot of history between the Redskins and Saints.
The teams have played each other since the 1960s. The Saints were an expansion franchise since 1967, and they played each other a few times back then. '69, the Redskins had a very big win over the Saints, 17-14 at RFK, and that secured our first winning season since 1955.
And that was Vince Lombardi's
only season in D.C. Unfortunately,
right.
He passed away before the 1970 year.
Got the Redskins back on the winning track with that win over the Saints. Now, we do know Mr. Huff and Mr. Kilmer were great teammates at one time, but there was a time where they weren't so friendly.
No, well Huff shoved Kilmer out of bounds, and I think Kilmer slid to the wall of the stadium.
Yeah, blew up that Gatorade table.
Right.
And when you also look at the 1982-83 championship season, the Saints figured into the Redskins' schedule that year as well.
Right, well, the Redskins beat the Saints again in the next to last game that season. That was the first strike-shortened year, and that was a big win for the Redskins because if they had finished tied with the Cowboys that season, the Cowboys would have won the tiebreaker and would have had home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Of course, the Redskins had home field advantage, and we know what happened. They rolled to Super Bowl 17, and the rest is history.
Mike, we look forward to having you on the show each and every Monday, and I want to thank Mike on Redskins Nation for participating in the 10 for 80 vote. Mike was one of the Blue Ribbon panel, along with Bernard Shaw, Joe Theismann, Mark Mosley, and Charles Mann, and the five of you augmented that fan vote. I think you got it right. Did anybody not make the list of the 10 that you think is a glaring omission?
Well, as you know, there were some other players.
You voted for some guys I'd never even heard of, Mike. I mean, let's be honest.
That's why I'm
here.
a Redskins historian, Larry.
Yes, that is true.
I went back to the 1940s. Dick Todd, who retired after the 1948 season, he led the Redskins in every major category on offense when he retired. So I thought he was worthy. But there were some guys from the first Gibbs glory era, 1980s, Clint Didier, Darryl Grant, Charlie Brown. He had a TD catch at Super Bowl 17.
Career with the Redskins, though, wasn't the longest of careers. He did move down to Carolina, or was it Atlanta? It was Atlanta he moved down.
Atlanta, right.
Dan Henning went down there. But will you agree to this? As much as you're going to argue to your very last breath about that 10 for 80, the 10 that made it were deserving.
They were all deserving. And, in fact, let me just say that if Terry Hermeling is on that team, John Jansen should be on, vice versa. Their careers were very similar. I know Hermeling was probably the surprise selection among the 10. But if he's on, Jansen should be on too.
All right, Mike's got some great, outstanding books. The Redskins, well, why don't you tell us about it?
Thank you, Larry. Both of my books, the Washington Redskins Football Vault and the Redskins Encyclopedia, are available by going to my website, redskinshistorian.com.